All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you everybody for joining. We'll start off with the Student Council report. Sebastian Wiesa.
Chris, do you have that one? I'm coming. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you've been well. My name is Sebastian Wiesa. I'm the student body president at Somers High School. And I'd just like to give our high school report to start off. For student life, this past Friday, the class of 2024 held their annual Mr. Somers event. It was so successful, so fun. I had the honor of competing in it alongside Ryan Cole, of course. I did win. I got Mr. Somers, and yeah, so it was great. It was great. Oh, I think Miss O'Shea added that down here too. Also, for student life, our year 2 IB diploma candidates officially completed and submitted their extended essays, which is a 4,000-word research paper on any topic they choose. And to close off the experience, they hold what's called their Viva Voces, which is a meeting with Miss Drysdale, the EE coordinator, Scanlon, the IB coordinator, and their supervisor. And basically you reflect on the process, and that's counted in the points on the paper. So reflection is a huge component in IB and this extended essay. For the arts, our fall musical, the Putnam County Spelling Bee, was so much fun. We had a nice crowd. It was hilarious. Everyone was laughing. So that was amazing. And tomorrow we have our choir and orchestra concert. So that's going to be fun. For counseling, last week the high school wellness team wrapped up the last fall semester DBT classes with the grade 10 health classes. And last night we had approximately 100 parents and students attend the junior college night as SHS, which featured direct advice on managing the college process from admissions staff and financial aid professional. Although the night was geared towards high school juniors, students and parents of all grades were invited. Finally, we wish our seniors best of luck as their early application results come in over the next week. At this point, 83% of the senior class has submitted at least one application, and the counseling office has processed school materials for exactly 2,694 applicants. Wow, that's a lot. Yeah, I've been going back and forth with my counselor about that stuff, so that's been fun. And for student council, I would love to talk about our NYCLSA conference that we held last month, and I'd love to invite the amazing Parker Stoker. Me and Parker were NYCLSA student board members, and Allie O'Connor, one of our CHIP captains. Is Anthony here? So we got one of our wonderful CHIP captains. So yeah. So just to start, I'm so sorry. We had 3 students win awards. Students learned a lot about leadership, made new friends, and had fun. And Somers was also recognized as an honors council for our community service work. I'd also like to recognize Jimmy Galvin and Augustus Infante for winning elections to be the next me and Parker of the NYCLSA student board. Are they here? Augustus is here. Awesome. Yeah. So they did amazing. So we got a nice little presentation here for you guys today just to talk about our experience and stuff. Yeah, that to start off, look at that. That's our whole crew, or some of the crew at least. Is that almost all? Except for us two. Yeah. So we brought a nice group up to conference. Most students,
So Somers brought 50 students from grades 8 through 12 out of 450 students throughout New York State, which,
Wow.
yeah, we were 1/8 of the conference. So just Somers alone. And we were the loudest there too.
So our students heard speakers all over the country, 3 to be exact. We basically talked to other student leaders about what to bring to Somers or what they do at their school that we can include in our community, which is really fun, and everyone made a lot of friends. So we also connected with the state charity events, and there were Special Olympics, the Leadership in Syracuse Inclusive U, right? Yeah. And what? We have another slide. Oh, we have another slide? Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's all of us right there. Yeah, definitely would like to recognize Maggie's son, one of our SMS students. So we took 8th graders on this trip. That's something they started in 2019. Somers started bringing 8th graders, and Maggie's son, one of our amazing 8th graders, won an Outstanding Student Leader Award, along with the wonderful Allie O'Connor over here. But yeah, so I guess since we're on this slide, I don't know, I'll just take the opportunity to explain like me and Parker's role a little bit as a part of NYSCLSA. And basically we are student board members, so we went to 2 meetings throughout the year, and we also had Zoom meetings and stuff, but 2 in-person meetings. Both were in Syracuse at the venue that we held the conference, and we basically planned our hearts out. We made up all the activities, we did the theme, we did the dance, we did everything. And also a responsibility of a board member is to create a leadership workshop that we teach to other students at the conference. And so yeah, it was just a great experience to create that workshop and run it for all the kids. So yeah.
Yeah, this is what you just.
Oh, this is what I just. Got it. That was my fault. Yeah. Do you want to talk about
now-
Special Olympics?
Oh.
That's next.
So for Special Olympics, Miss Stoker coordinated lots of it to connect with Special Olympics, and our schools over NY donated over $5,000 to Special Olympics, which is really cool. And like I said, the Inclusive U students came and talked to us about what inclusion looks like at a higher education level. So they were talking about what? They were talking about like what's it's like to be an athlete at a higher education level and how it feels to be included in their environment. And they also were talking about how they wanted to get included in more throughout more colleges, which is pretty cool because we have some of our own athletes at Somers High School.
So the next thing was Somers High School was recognized as an honor council high school for our student council. Oh, we have a plaque from that. So NYSCLSA State Charity Award, I think that was the State Charity Award. We won the There's No Place Like Home shoe contest with these absolutely amazing shoes that were designed and painted by Cece. So these won out of all the schools that came to NYSCLSA, which is really exciting. You want to grab these? We have Sebastian Wiesa got the Student Recognition Award, and Allie O'Connor and Maggie Sun won the Outstanding Student Leader Awards for the conference. So.
Oh Oh yeah, we'd like to do a huge thank you I'd also like to recognize especially Mrs. Stoker and Mrs. Hauser and Mrs. O'Shea for being advisors on the board at NYSCLSA. So like me and Parker, they helped plan the whole conference. So that was amazing. But I'd like to thank Miss O'Shea, Miss Stoker, Miss Hauser, and Mr. Bayer, I don't know if he's here, for coming up with us, dealing with all these crazy Somers kids, and just getting us energized and pumped. And they're just such amazing teachers and adults in our schools, and they did great helping us get through the conference. We'd like to thank Somers administration and the Board of Education for supporting the program and including transportation costs in the budget. We owe you guys. Thank you so much for everything you do. And also, lastly, huge congrats to the amazing Mr. Bayer for receiving the NYSCLSA Pillar of Leadership Award for his many years as a leader in NYSCLSA. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, those are cute pictures. Oh, yeah. And next year, sadly, us three won't be going to that. But Somers will be going up to Lake Placid for the next conference. So that's gonna be a fun one.
Thanks.
So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thank you to all you guys, everyone that was involved, and thank you for representing Somers up there. It was great. Special thank you to Mrs. Stoker, Miss O'Shea, Miss Hauser, and Mr. Bayer for taking the time, throughout the year, and also making that trip up here with all the students. One thing to note, though, the student board did create a dance. So I'm going to challenge. Let's put that on the next agenda. Maybe the Somers School Board can create a dance, though. Yes. We'll have some advisors on it. All right. Now we go to public comment. This is public comment for agenda items only. Once, twice, sold. All right. We move on to student recognitions. Who's taking over?
So we have our athletic director is going to be here tonight. So
Yes.
Mr. Haddam, he's over there hanging out in
There.
the corner, right? So Mr. Haddam, you were up,
Checking
sir.
out his notes.
Yeah. All right. So thank you, Mr. Haddam, sir.
Checking them twice. Mr. Mancini.
So just before Mr. Haddam starts, what we'll do, Mr. Haddam have a number of students we're going to recognize tonight. So our coaches and things are here, and then we'll go ahead and have some of our musical students who will be recognized. Mr. Min is here this evening. Then after that, we'll go ahead and take a time out so board can just kind of say thanks to everybody for being here tonight and give folks a chance to kind of head home and stuff. So thank you, Mr. Haddam.
So thanks, everybody. Nice to see all of you. A couple quick thank yous before we get started. We have a lot. Our fall sports excel, so we have a lot to get to tonight. Thank you to our board for having us here, to hosting our student athletes. Just really proud looking at it, this room, and the student athletes that represent our district being here, and thank you for everything you do to make that possible. Thank you to Dr. Blanche. There's not a conversation that I ever have with a colleague when we talk about these schools we work in that colleague looks at me and recognizes how lucky I am to work with such a great board and a great superintendent that supports athletics so much. So thank you to Dr. B. Thank you to Miss Corrado. Without her tonight, I wouldn't have a single award. So thank you, Nancy. Thank you to Miss Tippett, who would love to be here, but any chance she gets to not spend more time with me in the office, she takes, so she's not here. But if you know Joni, she is the true backbone of this athletic program and does so much. Thank you to our student athletes. Again, looking at them, I think about August 20-something, the first day of practice, and seeing you guys out there at 8 a.m. And as you go through the year, the season, I should say, thinking about the commitment that you made to be both a student and an athlete, and coming off practice fields at 5:30 or 6, or Saturdays at 4 o'clock, and maintaining that high level of what makes us so great. So thank you to each and every one of you for all you do. Most of you are captains on your team, and your coaches rave about you behind the scenes. Hopefully they do it to you as well. Thank you for all you do. And finally, Not a single conversation goes by when I talk about athletic program that I don't mention our coaches. Plenty of them are here tonight. Plenty of them won. I am so lucky. We are so lucky to have the coaches we have. The hours they put in are incredible. I'm in awe. And everything we ask, they ring the bell. So thank you to our coaches. Before we get to some team and individual awards, we have our Scholar Athlete Award to give out to several teams. And I'm just pulling that up in my phone. I realized last year when I did this, I didn't define what the Scholar Athlete Award is. So I'm going to do that very quickly. At the end of each sports season, the New York State Public High School Athletic Association honors those teams and individuals that excel in the classroom. Those student athletes, teams, and schools work very hard throughout the year and deserve to be recognized for their academic success. To receive Scholar Athlete team recognition with a certificate, the team's average GPA for 75% of the roster must be greater than or equal to 90. So I'm going to go ahead and call out those teams right now. Captains, if you are here, why don't you come up and accept it? They're in no order at all. I don't think girls tennis is here. I'm going to put that aside. Girls cross country. I see some of our girls cross country captains. Nick, I'd like to see you race the girls cross country as well if you're going to do a dance-off. I think that should be part of this. Our football team, if our captains come up from our football team. Thank you. I'll call you back up soon. Thank you. Our girls soccer team, Coach Haig, I know you're here somewhere. Miss McGuire and Miss McMorrow. Thanks, ladies. Thank you. Our boys soccer team. Coach Lanzetta sporting a new haircut. Looks great, Coach. Our boys volleyball team, I don't think is here. Anybody from boys volleyball? By the way, thank you to the board as well for making that happen, and to Dr. B. Our boys volleyball team in its first year had a wonderful, wonderful first season, a lot of fun, a great new sport introduced here. Thank you. I know Coach Lacko is here. He never misses a board meeting because it's our track and cross country team wins a lot. So our boys cross country team, please. I do not believe our girls field hockey team is here. And I do know the better half of the Pittman family is here. Coach Pittman didn't make it, but his daughters made it, as well as Taylor. Girls volleyball. Thanks, ladies. Moving on to some team awards. Varsity boys soccer team on winning the Class AA League champions. Before you come up, Coach Lanzetta, our boys soccer team this year was placed in probably the most difficult class and most difficult league in New York State. We won the league despite having the state runner-up in our league, and it was a wonderful accomplishment. And you know, Coach Lanzetta has a couple state championships, does a great job. So congratulations, Coach. This was a really cool one. I'm going to do it together. I'm going to do both cross-country teams together. So our cross-country teams run on Saturdays. And usually I'll get a text from our cross-country guys, you know, somewhere along the line of 3, 4 o'clock. And I got from both Coach Veg and Coach Lacko, who are just amazing coaches. You gentlemen go beyond the call. Forget the success in your seasons. The way you lead is incredible. And I got text, and I'm thinking, oh boy, who got hurt, right? Oh, what bus broke down? Why are they texting me together? And they texted me to tell them that for what we believe is the first time in Westchester County history that both our girls and boys cross-country team both won county championships on the same day. And the excitement, you know, you get those moments and how happy they were for the team and the program, and you know, send me pictures, we'll get it on Twitter, and it was just a really awesome day. That's a big meet, and to have both teams win it is really an incredible, incredible accomplishment. So congratulations on that county championship. If I could have both girls programs and boys programs come up to accept this. It's funny, just to go into that, what our coaches do, our Coach Veg and Coach Lacko and their teams now shift from Saturday all-day races to go into the Armory in the city on Sunday nights. And they're there on Sunday nights giving up their time and doing it to lead our boys and girls, and couldn't be luckier to have them lead our team. Varsity girls of volleyball won another league title after not winning a league title for forever. They have now won 2 in a row. So congratulations. It's such a fun team to watch play. Congratulations to our girls varsity volleyball team. Getting into our next team, so I think the athletes here or anybody in this room can think of, that agony of defeat in something we did. I was at our girls soccer game 2 years ago when our girls lost to Clarkstown South. We were upset, right? We were the higher seed, we were home, and we lost that game. And there's that moment that defines who you are, what you want to be, and how hard you want to work for it. And I know Coach Haig, as disappointed as she was in that loss, was in my office the next day asking for field time for the summer. And the girls got right back on the field this summer. Monday nights, Sunday nights, 90 degrees, nothing stopped them. And they got back out there this year. And I remember at one of the games, early games, if you know Mr. Williams, who does a lot of security for our games, I looked at him and I said, Patrick, I think this team's going to do something special this year. They played 20 games, they won all 20, right? So 20-0. I think whatever you're playing, 20-0, and Coach Haig doesn't play a soft schedule. They went 20-0. They won the section, right? And some of the highlights along the way, they won this great game against Scarsdale on Friday night at what seemed, it was like midnight. We were out there, and they had a great run. And I think about the game you guys played up in Binghamton in the regionals. It was about 20 degrees, and that was being kind. I couldn't feel my toes by the second half. It was snowing, and it was just awful conditions. And our girls made this long bus trip, and they went out there, and I just, how proud we were of them to win that game and to get to the state Final Four, where they lost to eventual state champion Spencerport, but it was some game. It speaks a lot about you guys. You had a lot going on this year, or injuries, et cetera, but again, to think about where you were against Clarkstown North and walking off that field and where you were and coming back and doing it this year, we're really proud of you. State Final Four is an amazing accomplishment. We have Annie and Jordan back there. You guys are wonderful leaders, and we're going to be sad to see you go, and we wish you the best moving forward. So to our girls soccer team, congratulations on a state Final Four appearance. All righty, our final team, a lot to be said about what goes on with our football program around here. Probably everybody in this room, I would think, at some point has been to a game on Friday night. Just the program, we could talk about the success. I love to talk about the other things. And, I see Nick and Ryan and James back there, and I think we've all said at one point of our life, I wish I loved that as much as somebody else. I wish I loved being able to suit up on Friday nights and play for Coach DiMatteo as much as our boys do. It's a special program, a special place. And with our captains here, you guys did a wonderful job. I mean, 2 state titles in a row, and the train isn't going to stop rolling, So we get up to Syracuse and we play that game, and it's not about winning or losing. What happened in Syracuse, to me, my favorite part of the Syracuse trip was a couple days before. I get a call from Frankie. Frankie's the manager at the Holiday Inn up in Syracuse. And she calls me up, she goes, "Mark, I'd love to have your boys back." So Frankie, we're traveling, we got about 100 people. She goes, I've never in my years, I've done this up in Syracuse, had a team come and represent themselves as well as your boys have. And you're the first call I'm making. I'd love to have them stay in a hotel, right? So winning, all that aside, that to me, in my role, makes me as proud as anything. I want to say one more thing about the team. I want to tell you guys a story. Our assistant coaches are great. Our players, everything. And, Coach DiMatteo is that guy that sits on top, right? And I want to tell you something about Coach DiMatteo. And again, this isn't about winning or losing or anything. My favorite story about coaches here, we're playing, I believe, Averill Park, right? Go to the regionals. Coach, forget about it. He was pacing at 7:30 a.m. the second he walked into school that day. And we get up to Averill Park, and it's halftime of the game. And I'm on the sidelines. I stay away, and I never talk to Coach during the game. And he calls me over, and I go, "Oh boy, and he, just like the cross country story before. Anytime they call you over, you're like, what's wrong?" So I go over. "Coach, what's up? What do you need?" He looks at me and he goes, "Hey, how did a diver do today up in the state finals?" I said, "Andy, you gotta get." He goes, I just want to make sure she did well, right? So in the middle of one of our biggest games, this is what Coach DiMatteo is as part of our community and what he thinks, right? It's not just about football; it's about a lot more. So I thought that was a great story and about your character and probably why our teams are so successful. So. Another state championship. We love them. I hate having to work so many Friday nights in November and December, but I guess it comes with the job. So congratulations to our varsity football program. All right, I have three more individual awards that we want to honor. Our first is Mia Sandolo, varsity girls cross country. When our girls were running to get up to the states, you could either qualify as a team or individually. It's really hard. There's only Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, I think 5 individuals that get chosen to go up to states. So I spoke to Coach Veg. I said, "Coach, what do you think?" He goes, "We got a couple kids that if they won their best race." It was a great team, great kids. And Mia Sandolo, as it turns out, just ran a race for the legends, right? And her race got her to the state, the state finals, right? And again, anytime you're an individual in a sport like cross country, cross country to me is fascinating. I mean, it's you against yourself, and to be able to challenge yourself and do that. And I think about you, Mia, as an individual accomplishment, but I think about your buddies that you're standing next to, and every time you go out to the track, you guys are running together, right? So while it's an individual accomplishment, I think it speaks about having great teammates, having great friends, and I want to congratulate you on a wonderful accomplishment. We're very proud of you. All righty, two more. So the Con Ed Award is the most prestigious award an athlete can win in Westchester County. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. I was lucky enough this year to be chosen to sit on the panel, and you see resumes of kids, and I read them, and what some of our young adults across Westchester, and it's just amazing, right, in awe. We not only had one Con Ed winner this year, we had 2. Again, just speaks to the quality of what we are, and as you guys, as the board sitting in front of us, you see kids like Sebastian and Parker that came up, and Miss O'Connor came up, right? And there's just our kids are doing amazing things, and winning a Con Ed award is one of those things. So our first Con Ed award winner, it might ring a bell because her brother won it last year. I always ask Vim what's in the water over at the Wilkinson house. Can I get a drink of it? Was awarded to Julia Wilkinson. Now, in the interest of time and everything, I had to cut this down pretty quick, so I just picked out the highlights. But believe me, there's a lot more. Julia qualified for the New York State Championships 3 years in a row. As a 10th grader, she was top 15. As a junior, she was 9th, and this year she came in 4th. All of New York State. She was a top diver in Section 1. All those good things, but again, the theme here is what she did in the pool, but you look at her community service and her classroom work. Julia is the founder of Home Project, which is a group created to help rescue animals to find them a home. Julia is a member of Student Council. She's the first violinist for Somers Orchestra, and I believe for the Somers Chambers Orchestra. Did I get that right? She's an honors program kid, a lot more community work. But my favorite thing about her resume, and I triple checked it, Julia had a 4.0 GPA every single marking period in her time in Somers. Which is, I was like, wait, is this right? And you go back, it just doesn't, and you keep reading it, and it's the 4.0. When you think about Julia's life, a lot of it after school is spent in the swimming pool. So the free time is at a minimum. So it just shows you what a wonderful kid she is. She's going off to Cornell. All right, and she's going to make us really proud and happy, and really, really fortunate in my role to get to know Julia over the past couple of years. So congratulations to Julia Wilkinson. And if I do get the magic water from the Wilkinson house, I will sell it in the Commons at the high school tomorrow night, and we will all be wonderful also. So, thanks, Vin. We appreciate that. Our last award, another Con Ed winner, goes to Ryan Cole. Ryan's incredible. Again, on the football field, 2-time state champion. I think he just won Defense Player of the Year. He sacks every quarterback. He's a terror. I know from talking to Coach DiMatteo. A lot of the reason for the success of the defense is because Ryan draws so much attention and it enables other kids to do other things. But man, if you know Ryan, it's you just smile, right? You just smile. He was captain of the football team, involved with Best Buddies, involved with Able Athletics, helped after COVID. I remember we met, and he came in, he said, Mr. Haddam, let's start that Student Athletic Council back up, and we were all just kind of dragging our feet out of COVID, and Ryan was the guy that got us going on that again, and we appreciate it. We traveled to Nebraska together, had a great time down there. I know Nikki's here as well, part of the Student Senate. I believe you're in the choir, et cetera, and peer leader, AP and IB student, 96 average, and just the endearment for Ryan in our community is incredible. I know every time you walk in the office, Miss Tippett, when you walk out, she's like, love that kid. Right, and she says it a lot. So I think we all do, Ryan. We could all say that, right? You're certainly a role model and a fantastic young man. I believe you're making your college decision tomorrow. All right, so I'm sure your parents are probably home counting their pennies right now to see where you're going to go. But we wish you nothing but the best of luck, and thank you for all you've done as an athlete and student in Somers. And that is it. Thank you for your patience. This is just a lot, and we want to honor them. So thank you, and everybody have a great night. Thank you.
We'll have Ricky come up. That's okay.
Yeah, music.
Yep. And we'll pause. Yeah. So Ricky, if you don't mind, we'll go ahead and have you come forward. So Ricky Min here is he's going to go ahead and acknowledge some of our students involved in our music program and some of their amazing successes already that have started this year. So thank you, Ricky.
Greetings. My name is Ricky Mint. I'm the band director over at Somers Intermediate School. And today I'm here to acknowledge the students that were selected to the area, all-state, and all-county ensembles from Somers this year. Students are selected from all over Westchester County on several different instruments, and it's a large population body. Westchester County, I'm sure you know, spans from Yonkers all the way up to here in Somers. So here we go. From the elementary level, we have Sienna Chung from the orchestra, Kaylee Jung from the orchestra, Iris Campo from the choir, Josephine O'Brien from the choir, Francesca Palumbo from the choir, Natalia Steiner from the choir, Lucas Ruck from the band. You guys can come up if you like. From the intermediate, welcome. From the intermediate All County, we have Hannah John from the choir, Sophia Klugert from the choir, Ian Wichter from the orchestra, Hannah Jian from the orchestra. Oh, that's twice, I apologize. Kaylee Chandra from the orchestra, Amy Quinn from the orchestra, Smara Theckenmar from the band, Jin Thornton from the orchestra. That's the intermediate level, grades 7 to 9. And the area All-State, which I was very involved in the creation of that festival, just ran at New Rochelle High School. That was an excellent success. Here are grades 10 through 12. That's Angelina Pinheiro, Julia Schmidberger from the band, both from the band, Landon Bleasdale from the orchestra, Daniel Cho from the orchestra, Shriyam Shanthan from the orchestra, Fiona Sledzik from the orchestra, and Charlotte Wilk Olson from the orchestra. Thank you. Thank you, Somers Board. Thank you, Dr. Blanche.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Appreciate it. Thank you guys for coming up this evening. So before we take a break, just wanted to start here and thanking to all of our musicians here again. So Mr. Min, I know that we had some of the students couldn't make it tonight, but thank you again for coming this evening. Again, obviously that's a small group of our students who are involved in our music program, as it starts really the instrumental part starts all the way in 3rd grade with our kids with summer instruments and works its way all the way through 12th grade. So again, you'll hopefully see some of these students moving forward as they come through our schools and ultimately end up at the high school with our musical program. So thank you for Ricky, for yourself and the rest of the music instructors, and thank you again, students and family, for being here tonight for the musical program. Acknowledgement of where we're at today, and with hopefully, I know we get some more awards a little bit later through the year. And then to the athletic families for coming tonight again, so thank you very much. And to our student athletes, as I think Mr. Haddam spoke enough for all of us a few times over and things like that, but you can't stop because there's so many great things, again, with our musicians here tonight, knowing a little bit about what they're doing in the music room and outside, as well as our student athletes, what they're doing on and off the field. So representation of the Somers School District, this concept of looking at how do we continue to move and make a positive impact on our community, you saw it this evening. So I'm going to turn it over to our board president before we take a quick break.
Yeah. On behalf of the board, thank you to the music program and all you do, right? A lot of that doesn't just happen in the classroom or just after school, right? You're putting a lot of extra effort in, so thank you very much for all you do there. Congratulations to all the student athletes that are here. I think it was amazing, especially seeing all the Scholar Team Athlete Awards. Great job on that, in addition to all the awards and accolades you've got as far as championship goes. But a special thanks, I want to call out, thank you to the coaches. All right, so not only did you guys build great teams, athletes, and leaders, but you've also built these kids and scholars, right? Mark Haddam told the story about the football team. I'm sure the other teams have other such stories like that. But this doesn't come at just staying after school and just running a practice or going to games, right? Each one of you have built a program within the community, and I know a lot of you guys spend time, outside of it. We heard a story about the soccer team, the girls' soccer team coming in over the summer to make sure that team does well. And I know a lot of you also participate with a lot of the youth programs here in Somers, who are also our students within the district here, in making sure that they're actually building a program that feeds it up. But again, this is the time and effort that each one of you guys put in to not only show great sports, but also build great students and individuals. Can't thank you enough on behalf of Somers. Thank you.
Paul, we're just going to quick time out, and we'll just say thank you for everybody here tonight, and we'll get you on your way. So thanks, everybody. Right, so we are back online. So go ahead and just want to say thank you again, board, for the evening. An opportunity for us to hear directly of some of the kind of amazing things that our students are doing, and the connection across our community and, frankly, the larger community in the state as well, too. So thank you.
Thank you. And just before we do go on to, I did miss a thank you on that. So thank you, Mr. Haddam, for all you do, right? So again, a lot of that would not be successful, without your leadership and guidance there. And, to your credit, you are at most of these games, if not all the games. I've traveled to, I know my daughter's games, and I do see, Mark showing up on a Saturday, to go ahead and watch those games with his kids there. So thank you very much for everything you do there. All right, moving on to the central office report. We're going to the athletic fields update.
So I'll go ahead and kick it off there. We have our teammates here from our architectural firm, so go ahead and have Mike come on up and go ahead and do some introduction. Walter will probably join him as well, too. And then we'll go ahead and start there, and I think Chris has got us up on the screen. So if you guys wouldn't mind coming to the podium. Again, just as our team works up there, this is basically looking at the facilities project, the athletic project that we've been working over roughly the last 18 months as far as the project goes. And then we are getting ourselves ready to go ahead later this evening is on the Board of Education agenda is to kind of award those bid contracts. So go ahead and start with the agenda, Mike, and we'll turn it over to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Blanche. Thank you to the board. I'll start by introducing myself. Michael Lantier, I'm an engineer with H2M Architects and Engineer. Walter Ackerman is a civil engineer with my firm as well. I'll start just by saying that it's a pleasure to join the board when we have a meeting like this, when we're honoring the scholar athletes. It's an opportunity for us to really meet the communities that we're serving. So we really try to take an opportunity to really be part of that, to get to know the community. And it's been a pleasure working with Dr. Blanche and Chris and Mark, not only for this project, but for every project. We've been working on this one for a number of months at this point, and we're really at a great place to be presenting tonight. So the committee members right now are on the screen. There were various members across the community and across the school as well that participated in this project of putting together a comprehensive plan for the site at the high school as well as the elementary school. So it basically started back in 2021 and 2022 when we, as a team, reviewed the needs of tennis, football, softball, baseball, track and field, and we looked at the existing conditions and what opportunities there were to expand and as well as to expand within available funding. Since then, we have completed the design for the site for the high school and the elementary school. We have received SED approval, so that's the building permit, and we have solicited and have received bids for the project. I'd like to say that the hard part's over. Unfortunately, we're getting into construction now, so there's still some more work to do, but really all of the prep work has been done up to this point. To present the different facilities, starting off with baseball, what is currently included in the bids that we received, and we did receive a number of favorable bids, which we're hoping to have the board approve later on tonight, so we can move into the contracts for construction. To give you an update on baseball, what is included in the current contract is full synthetic outfield and infield. New foul poles, new tension netting for the backstop, new fence with foul ball tension netting, new bullpens and a batting tunnel for the home side, and a new scoreboard, new flagpole, bleachers for approximately 100 seats. We're renovating the dugouts. The dugouts for baseball were fairly new and in good condition, so we're able to reuse them and actually use them kind of as our basis point for building out the field. We have numerous site and drainage improvements. We've been working with the DEC and the DEP for approval to make sure that we're meeting all of their requirements as well. And then down to the baseball field, there'll be new electrical distribution for some of the pitching equipment, as well as for some of the sound systems that may be required or needed in the future, and general power distribution for any of the needs down at the field. Similarly, moving on to softball. And what you will see on the screen really are some renderings that our team was able to put together. And for softball, again, it includes full synthetic infield and outfield, new foul poles, new tension netting, new fence, new bullpens and batting tunnel, new scoreboard, new flagpole, again, bleachers that will seat approximately 100 occupants. New dugouts, we were able to work into the existing landscaping recessed dugouts that are about 18 inches below grade, similar again to the baseball, the existing baseball dugouts. Numerous site and drainage improvements, and again, electrical distribution out to the site. The next slide just shows some additional views of the renderings, just to give some idea of what the site will look like when it's complete. Moving on to tennis, this is the location of the lower field. We were able to include in our base bid contract six courts that will be separated by a fence, so 3 courts on either side. We included new security gates, windscreens, new nets, posts, again, new bleachers for occupants, site and drainage improvements, electrical distribution down to that area, which is not an easy feat considering how far away it is from the building, but there'll be availability for power distribution. We're including some security lighting down there as well, a couple security cameras, and some ADA parking in that lower area as well. And then we are bringing down some network connections so we can have some connectivity down in that area as well. Some other locations, we included some new pads and cages for the throwing events. That's shot put and hammer throw, as well as an interior project. In order to get New York State aid, you do need to include an interior portion of the project. So we are including some ceiling renovations at both the high school and the elementary school, so the district's eligible for some of the state aid. So moving on to the bid results, they fell in really where we forecasted. The contract C, which is all of your site improvements, your turf fields, your tennis courts, that was about $5.8 million. Your contract G, which is just simply the interior ceiling upgrades, was about $145,000. Your contract E is your electrical distribution throughout the site. State bidding laws require us to separate contracts out in this matter. So your total hard construction costs are about $6.23 million for the project at the high school and the elementary school. So moving on to the timeline, we are really at that middle bullet point, the bid, project, and award. Everything previously we've worked through. Like I mentioned before, we're looking for board approval tonight, and then we will start construction. We are looking to break ground for tennis in the beginning of March. Really, we have time right now. We're getting the contracts, the insurances in place, and once the ground thaws out, we'll be breaking ground and starting with tennis. Shortly after softball and baseball season ends, we'll break ground for those sites as well, and we're looking to complete them. Tennis will be up and online for September start in '24, and softball and baseball will be ready at the end of October. We're looking to close the project out as a whole before the end of 2024. So for the next steps, it's the bid award. We have final DEP and DEC approval. Now that we know what the contracts look like, we have to just get final approval from those entities so they're aware of what our stormwater runoff is expected to look like. The groundbreaking, like I mentioned, and we're already talking about a potential Phase B. And these are really items that we looked into including as part of this, but in order to fit in with the current available budget, we included the items that we previously discussed, but really moving forward, we're also looking to include a lower soccer field, rotating the soccer field and enlarging it, replacing the existing press box, updating the lights at Turf 1 to be new LED lighting, install new LED lights at Turf 2, and then revise some of the site work, some of the retaining walls between Turf 1 and Turf 2, resurfacing the track, and putting an exterior comfort station to include concessions and bathrooms.
Thanks, Mike. And I think with the piece we're sitting at right now, the timing is about as good as we could have hoped for. Again, having us be available to have tennis available in the fall for the athletic program, as well as a new physical education experience for the high school, which they just have not been able to have. And then with the softball and baseball finished in the fall, we'll be ready for their spring sports. And so as we would kind of work that through, that again, as those fields in particular, baseball and softball both being synthetic surfaces, those will be available for other kind of practice experiences, or even if you think about it, Primrose, where the younger students will be able to go out on maybe a little inclement weather days where their ground has typically been pretty wet and they don't want to go out on the hard pavement, they can go out on the synthetic space and kind of still get outside and do some of that work. So the team has got a kind of a concrete path you could see in the photo there that would allow the kids to come out, go ahead and still have some outdoor recess and come back inside. So, and then the last piece that the team was talking about there is that Phase B. If the board maybe recall that we asked the community initially to establish a capital reserve account for up to $10 million. We got that up to $7 million. So those dollars are going to make this Part A of the project take place. And then between what we have in there now and the next year, we should be able to get that up to the remaining $3 million accessible. We'll be asking for that in the May of 2025 to help us go back and finish the work that needs to be done outside the campus. And so, any questions for myself or Chris or the team tonight?
So
I have a question.
the new lighting's only going to show up, there's no new lighting in this first phase, it's only for the second phase?
No, yep. We had hoped, just pricing as it continued to escalate through the project, kept that a little bit away, but the team actually did some initial design of that, so we know what that will look like and take through. So that would be, we anticipate in that next part of the project.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, I have a question. Yeah, I heard you say you have network access at the tennis court. Does that also in the baseball and the softball court?
So at this point, there's not. We've included provisions we've included spare conduits to bring an actual hard-wired fiber connection down there if it's needed. The intention at this point, because of the location of them, is to actually do a point-to-point.
I mean, what's the rationale for having tennis court not in the baseball?
I can drop on that one. The security location right there, it's it's down in Lower Grass Field. We don't have really many lights down, so we'd like to have some small lights and some security cameras. That's what's going to allow us the accessibility to have cameras out there for security purposes. Conduit is run in those other areas, so when we can, budgetary-wise, those would be some of the smaller details that are dropped into Phase 2 that we can pull that. It just seemed a priority for security purposes. We don't want it to become an attractive nuisance without kind of any watch over it.
Okay.
And there is existing cameras that do cover the baseball field and softball fields already.
What's the material in the infield and at softball?
The infield, it's also synthetic turf.
It is.
It's just darker color.
A different color.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm glad you shared that piece out, because that's one of the pieces when the team threw out, some good enough to look at, we'll actually connect with Mark Haddam and the student athletes. And as we get closer to that, there's some choices on colors, and we'll try to involve the coaches and the students there, and obviously Mr. Haddam, to identify some of those finer, color details, and the dugouts and things like that. We'll be connected with them. So
that makes that whole surface usable for Primrose, for students, and
Yep.
inclement weather.
Hey, I'm predicting a future, one of those kickball games with students versus staff, but I don't know for sure, so we'll see.
I don't know. Primrose they have tug of wars.
Right.
They big tug of war. The field day. They've got that big ball that they push around. It's hard to be a parent and sit on the sideline because the kids have so much fun.
And the field's reoriented for the softball.
Oh, very good point. Yes. Yeah. And with that opportunity, again, the sun is not facing our batters and things like that. And then also with the electrical piece that's run out to all those locations, that now the teams can bring out either a pitching machine or a serving machine for tennis or whatever it may be for the sport, so they can kind of plug and use that piece and kind of work in that regard. So that helps immensely with having not having to always have your coach be the one who's pitching. You can have a machine do it and stuff like that. So.
And another question is, on this diagram, the tennis courts, the orientation of the courts, can you tell us, is the east, west, south, north type of a direction where the courts are lined up?
So it's north. It's basically north south. So this angle is taken from the southeast portion of the site. So we're really looking in this view towards.
So the court sideways is east-west.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, good.
In the bid results,
We have a total hard construction cost. Soft costs are not included. Can you give examples of what those
Sure.
soft costs are and what the projected cost of those will be?
Sure. So soft costs include state education costs, your architect, your engineer fees, your construction management fees, any marketing fees, which I don't think this project had, and it would include your attorney costs as well. As a general rule of thumb, it's somewhere between about 12 and 15% of an overall project cost.
So it's going to bring us right to that $7 million balance that we had. And included in these bid numbers here, it includes some allowances as well. So if we do not use those allowances, then they'd be credited back to the district.
Some of your soft costs would also include survey work. We were proactive when we did the survey, and we surveyed the entire site, the high school and the elementary school, for any future site work. Your surveys are fully completed.
So it's historically 12 to 15%?
Yeah.
Is that what you should be projected to be?
For your soft costs,
Right.
yeah. There are certain other items that sometimes are included that bring that up. If you're including higher contingencies, because there's a really unpredictable market, but we've taken a lot of that into consideration, and you may have higher soft costs as you start out a project. Since we've received the hard costs, I would be confident in including 12 to 15% at this point. But all of our soft costs are also known at this point as well.
Can you describe the tennis court service a little more in detail?
We're going with a, sorry, this is a little low for me. It's fine. The Nova acrylic surface that we have specified, we've been using for tennis courts on a lot of our projects. The colors are to be selected, but I think based on what we have right now, that shouldn't affect the cost at all and can be kind of picked by the students later, but we're
The
confident
red
with
color
one.
is just arbitrary right now.
Yeah, so the Nova acrylic surface is it's how do I describe it? It's asphalt pavement and then essentially like a primer and paint on top of it, specifically designed for the tennis.
The reason I raised that is because we have community people interested in the pickleball, drawing lines on tennis courts. And if you choose surface very dark, like a very dark red, then it would be difficult to draw lines that for other sports or to share sports.
Right. So we brought up pickleball as a potential thing to include. And it's something that we can consider when we kind of finalize the colors. That's a good point to bring up.
Right.
So I'm just going to be clear, we're not putting on pickleball lines at this point in time. As we had kind of talked at the last board meeting and talking to Mr. Haddam, our physical education instructors, and even some of our students on the tennis team, and saying, look, we would ask that these stay as tennis courts at this point in time. Obviously partnering with the town now has all those courts they've been so kind to allow us to use over these years, that the town now has those abilities to turn those back over.
But I don't think it's prudent not to consider this color coordination for the future's sake. There's no reason to put a surface very dark so that other sports cannot be, used or something.
And if that's why I say that for future sakes, and that's where we'll kind of just renditions now, and we'll look at a workspace in there as far as that works, certainly. So it kind of helps pop the courts too with a great background, so it's easy to see the courts as well. So, yeah.
Is there a percentage that we add for any foreseen like work order changes or anything like that? Is that in here?
So there is. Included in each one of the contracts are allowances. Offhand, I believe we included $200,000 as an allowance item for contract C for any unforeseen conditions. I believe we're at $25,000 for contract E. And then contract G, I think we included $5,000 because it was a small contract. And if those allowance items aren't used during construction, they're returned back to the district.
And if they go over, obviously we have to.
We would, yeah, we'd have a discussion to issue a change order on the contract.
The Phase B, that timeline there, that would be, is that in there? That would be a vote spring of 2025.
Correct, and that would align with the anticipated bond request in 2025 as well.
Would that allow us to do construction in summer 2025? Is that why you have summer here, or?
As far as, it would really start the project once we got approval. We would be able to go ahead and perhaps start. It would be very subtle, maybe moving some things on there. One of the things we might be able to do a little bit faster, frankly, would be the lighting. That is a piece that, because it is a contractor that we know of, we would probably start on parts of it, not completely do it, but that is one of the earlier pieces that we would look to be able to try to jump on right away, just because of that group is the same group that install our current lights and things like that, so they know the field, they know the setup, they know, so that would be the ones we could jump on a little earlier. If we go ahead and we look at updating the concessions in the bathrooms, that's a little bit farther down the line, because you're looking at, perhaps looking at sewage lines and things like that. You're tapping into your water and things like that. So different parts could start early. That would be the one that I would say would be one of the ones. Press box is really going to be dependent upon what the supply chain looks like.
Okay.
So that right now, as we're hearing, is approximately a year. If we said we wanted it today, it would be about a year before we got it.
And you can't get the approval, you have to apply for state approval after having the bond vote.
We have to show we have the money in our
Yeah.
coffers to do that, yeah.
Okay.
And some of these items the
bond vote,
state
though.
has reviewed
not the
and
bond
did approve as part of this project. We did include press box. We included the lighting. We included some of the site work between Turf 1 and Turf 2, and we included rotating the lower soccer field. So funding did become available. We wouldn't have to wait for that permit process.
Oh, so that parts have already been improved by the state, you're saying?
Yes.
Oh,
okay.
that's great.
What was the cost of that? Do we know? The extra cost for those?
We probably have to pull it back up, because we didn't have that specifically in this bid piece. So I don't want to take a guess at it, guys, and because you had lots of bids coming forward. So, but we can get that back to the board and get those numbers for sure. Yeah.
And just stop me if I'm wrong, Chris, but so basically, we had to vote, the voters had to approve the creation of the account, the initial account, up to $10 million. Last May, then we approved the spending of up to $7 million, right? Because we were very
Yep.
specific on that for this part of the phase. So that's the only amount of money we're allowed to spend, even though we could create the account up to 10 million.
Right.
So we can't even put in the additional funds until we get voter approval again to
Well,
go forward with the
We
second
can,
phase.
we'll put in the funds to
put the
get it to
funds
the
in.
3
With the
million,
funds,
and
but
then
we
we'll
can't
ask the
spend
voters
them
to
until,
approve
we
it.
can't spend those additional $3 million until we
Correct.
get voter approval again.
Yes.
And that's what
Again.
May 2025 would be.
And again, once we put the money in that fund, that's the only thing it can be used for, because voters already said we can put aside the money for this.
Correct.
If we decided not to use it for something else, we'd have to go back to the community and for a whole nother vote, correct?
Yeah, that would be
Like, yeah.
quite the process, because it was established for a particular reason,
Right.
and that is what we are using the money for.
Okay.
And just to circle back on some of the timing, if some of these, if the funds do become available, even though some of this stuff was included in this current project, we're going to end up closing out those projects before we get to this. So it would have to then go through SED for approval again on a new project. And the timing, depending on the timing of how long SED is going to take to approve projects, that varies quite dramatically.
As we learned.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the lighting is a, kind of is a risk of mine, or kind of a concern of mine. Obviously, we couldn't do it because of the funds on it, but something as soon as possible would be ideal, especially because we're losing a field down there below, so that gives us daylight time that we have to condense down on. And I know it's not necessarily, it is some of the youth sport stuff, though.
Yes.
Well, it's not high school proper, right? It is the students,
Youth sports, yeah.
with youth sports with the students within our district and the other schools, right? And I think and I think I've said this before, right? One of the compelling things about the community or our district is that we don't have sport, we don't have fields all over the place, right? So it's nice seeing the community come together and unite, at the high school there. So I think it's good when they use it, not that you're arguing against that. But I think it is important that we do try to get lights up there. I know we do the generators up there, and those things are absolutely painful, noisy up there. All right, so it doesn't need to be professional lighting, but some kind of, extension cord running down the freaking thing and LED lights, so we get the generators off. I know you don't have an answer right now on
No,
that, but just something
we,
to think about.
we don't do the lights. Town does
No,
lights.
the
Yeah,
town
just
does
to make
lights on it. Yeah, no, I get
So
it.
that's not the.
But it's
And it really was on the top of our identify list, certainly with our athletic program, Tier 2 would particularly have helped. Now, though, with the season being able to get, the kids can go and practice on our baseball field all through the fall, it's a lot of space out there. And so we can use that, and frankly, over the softball field too, that can also still be used in the fall season as well, and we don't really do much else out there. So for practice purposes, we've got a lot of space out there, frankly, that we probably wouldn't be able to use because, when it rains and we get the rains, then it rips the grass out. And with that being said, though, that is a part that the team did put in for the original design approval, and it was approved and all that. So if we have to go in through another approval with SED, we might snag that. That should go a little faster because everything's been done and approved. Just needs a different number attached to it. Yeah. And so if this gets presented in May, that is something that, again, we would jump on it as soon as we possibly could. And like the team mentioned, there's a few of those key items we'll jump on, have to go and design those other things. But the site work, I don't want to miss that between Turf 1 and Turf 2 in those areas. There's definitely some work, if you've been familiar with that, we want to tackle some of the retention walls and some of the other drainage and things like that. So that would all be inclusive of there. But the lights there would also allow us to help our sub-varsity sports too, so the kids are getting home a little bit earlier, and our younger kids are not staying as late. So I can't disagree with you. That's it's something that's why it's Phase B. We want to get it done.
Yeah, but it's a good point. The fact that because originally when we started this, we were looking at the softball and/or baseball fields in being partial.
That was, we may have thought, hey, do we need to go to that?
Yeah.
And then when we talked with our contractor, said, look, we do not suggest you had that pathway to this partial piece. You're just asking for trouble down the line. And then the reality is when we looked at that, and our understanding was that part of this project, the price cost would escalate more.
We did it later
than
on.
you would be doing like some of the lighting and things
So
like
it's worth
that.
picking that up now, so
Yes.
doing that. And the advantage to your point there is by having that and not two different surfaces, it does give a much larger space to be able to use as
yes.
multi-purpose or something like that.
Yeah.
Not that's going to be lined for that, but it becomes available for practices and all.
Exactly. And then even one of those pieces too, that both of those fields will be fully encapsulated by fencing. So again, that can just provide us a lot tighter opportunity to make sure those folks who are using the field should be out using the field. Because again, anybody that's using the field, it's not in the district, we would be going through a facility usage form, so making sure that that's kind of processed through in the correct piece there. And the same thing for our tennis courts, is we want to make sure that folks who would be using those, that outside of the district proper, that they've got that facility usage form and be accessing those and things like that. So, yeah.
At this point, all these lightings are technically specified in terms of how many lumens, illumination over the court.
Yes,
Correct.
the team,
Yep.
they did a
They
great
are
job.
all specified?
Yeah.
They're all specified.
Available for us to look at and what the design point
Yep.
was?
Yep, we have full design drawings that we have gone out to get competitive pricing on for both fields already.
So this is for
For lumen,
tennis is not going to have lighting.
no,
on it, right?
tennis, does it have lights for night playing?
No.
No.
No plan for it?
Nor baseball, nor softball.
Yeah.
None
This is just
of
a-
those have
it was
lights.
just
So
a
none of
purpose.
these courts are designed for
Nighttime,
night
no.
playing at all?
No courts or no fields.
There's designs. It was it's
Because-
not in the budget for this phase of it.
Then the question is, how many playing hours are we talking about? Because nowadays, with all this, changing time, discussion about having this daylight saving or not having daylight saving and so on, it makes quite a bit difference if you really get a couple hours playing time for these facilities. And we spend a lot of money, for this. So I think we should really consider these things, far side, not ignore it. I mean, whether we have
Nothing
lights
was
or
ignored.
not having lights, this probably,
So that was something early on that it was talked
particularly for Phase B, we probably should, consider.
Phase B we could finalize later on, but early on we talked about doing lights on, and even the tennis kids said no, right? It wasn't worth it. We do have the community still, so right now we're going from 6 in this district to now 12 tennis courts in district, so we are doubling that. So if you take a look at your hours of play, you have a lot more surfaces available for the community. And now the high school students and middle school students are not going to the town to go ahead and use that. So that should offer up much more time on there.
For the high school athletics, are tennis, softball, and baseball games scheduled after dark with other high schools in the region, or are they typically all during daylight?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, spring and softball are springs. I mean,
Yes.
Yeah.
baseball and softball are spring sports, right?
Yeah.
Tennis is what, fall
And
And spring.
and spring. So
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not.
Good news
not
is they're
typical to
not
need it at night.
competing for field space as the other sports are.
Right.
That's the major, that's the.
Well, the
significant
question
difference.
really is the return on investment. I mean, the money is spent and how many hours are usable, and that is a very significant, consideration point for us. We are a public school. We want the kids to use as much as possible, and also the community can use of school hours. I don't know whether we actually ever considered that. I think we should.
So a couple things, Ife. One, as far as the school, the tennis courts are able to be used for the 6.5 hours that our children are in the school all day long. So now our physical education program can bring that on as a live sport. So as long as the weather's nice outside, they've got plenty of sunlight to play all day long, from roughly 7:30 in the morning to 2:30 in the afternoon. Then the tennis kids can drop on the courts after that. So it can be very packed all day long with our kids out there doing those units. And the same thing, we're even looking at, hopefully we're going to start a modified program now so the kids at the middle school can join over and use those fields. So it'll be used very, very heavily now that it is part of the physical education program where it wasn't before. And so the ability for lights making a determination whether the team looked at it at a high level. Realize you're talking about a couple of $1 million to put lights on those three faces. When there's talk about a cost and return investment, that does not make sense for what the district.
Well, it makes sense from a community point of view. Community pays $10 million to us. They may not want this entirely just based on a school consideration, okay? The school hours, yes, we have 2:30, and then the kids usually programs ends early afternoon, but
Is there currently a
afterwards-
backlog on the Reese ones at night?
Pardon me?
Is there a line or backlog for the usage of the courts at night
No,
in Reese?
generally, even our town courts, whatever facility, people generally eventually wants to extend hours. The tennis courts in the park also, people want to get to 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, okay? And they want more light and brighter lights. It's natural. So if we design these things, if we don't think ahead of time and consider more prudently about the entire community, we're not doing, a good job. This is what I'm saying.
I'd like to, can I say something? Just a reminder that we're a school district and we're the school board. So our first and foremost priority here is our students and what we need for the kids here. There is a town board that's taking care of the full town needs. And yes, we share.
I'm talking about
we
the budget
share.
is passed by the community.
Yes.
We have to go to the community to get,
For the
approval for
benefit of
money.
Yeah, can I
So the
finish?
consideration should be broader than that.
However, when we put this out and the community voted on it, this was the plan. And it was with the priority being for students. So, if you're talking about adding millions of dollars for lighting that's not going to benefit the students of the school district, that's something that you need to consider, and we don't have that money budgeted for.
No, I'm asking, asking people
But it
to.
does help the students, because you got youth sports, and they're students, but they're playing for the town sports, and I think it does help the students. They're children of the town, and they're playing sports, and whether they're in third grade or high school, they're still using the facilities. And I think a lot of people are under the impression that some of these fields were going to have lights underneath this project.
Can you help me understand
Is that
where
what
that
he's
came
getting
from?
at?
I have no idea where that came from.
Not tennis or baseball or softball. We never had that.
No, for
I
the
don't know how
turf
often people
field?
have tennis at night.
Turf field was the optional that we were
Right.
trying to put that
The
on.
turf
there,
field
but
is what
not
I was
the,
speaking about, but I think that's what he's trying to get at.
No,
No,
well, you're
no,
talking
he's trying to
specifically
get
about the
tennis.
tennis
I'm
courts.
all around.
All sports, extending hours to the late hours is always desirable, okay, for the money you spend. And I think that's a philosophical issue. that all public servant should consider. You spend public money, you do the best for the public, and the school is part of the community.
Yeah, but the choice might be, do you put in lights or do you put in a field?
Yeah, I'm not saying, that we should do it right now.
We're still
I'm saying
providing
that from a design point of view, from a project planning point of view, the philosophy should be that way, okay? We should not just say, well, it's our school stuff, and we want to just for
Right,
school.
but it is. I mean, it's planned with community use in mind within the budget parameters that we have.
And can I just make a point? These tennis courts are not going to be like in the middle. They're kind of off to the side, and that's the whole point of running the security cameras and stuff. Do we want people playing back there at night with access and usage with lights and everything else when we're all not on site to, monitor it? Then are we paying for security to then go down there and make sure the fields and the tennis courts are being used appropriately, et cetera? Like, who's gonna pick up the tab on all that?
Sorry, can I just rein this in a little bit? So Ife, I agree with you. I think it's all designed. There's extra conduit in there, right? So at any point in time, I'm sure that this can all be expanded for lights in any of the fields we want. Right now, that's not in the phase 1 budget.
Yeah, I'm not saying right
so
now.
We're going to
I'm
talk.
talking about.
I know. So we're going to talk about phase B, come next year on that. And then we could have the debate whether it's tennis, baseball, field turf 2, or whatever it is, and how we spend that money. But let's save that for then. This is kind of pointless right now. I don't, because it doesn't really change it right now because we don't have any budget unless we cut something.
No, I just want to set the tone that we should.
So I don't disagree with you. I don't think anyone does.
Okay?
Yeah. And it sounds like we have the conduit, electrical, all that stuff's being down. There's $240,000 electrical budget to run most of that down by tennis too.
It sounds
so that
like
should be able
this
to
has
suffice.
been, we have thought ahead. And there are some limitations what we can do right now, but there are options.
Right.
And there's, more down the road, and we'll figure out what we can afford to do at that point.
Decide what the priority is for the next $3 million.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that then.
It's
So-
going to get chopped up or whatever is going to get.
So any other questions on phase A? No. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
All right, we've got Chris up next, so we're going to go ahead and walk through just the initial kind of start of the budget cycle process. And so this evening is the first kind of look at that. Again, these are anticipated kind of high-level numbers, and you're going to see some ranges in here that will start. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Chris, and I'll just join us along the way. Thanks, Chris.
Again, just a very high-level initial budget presentation here as we kickstart the budget development for the 24-25 school budget. So tonight we'll take a quick look at how the budget development process works. We'll look at some of the driving factors for both the revenues and expenses for the 24-25 school year. Then we'll take a look back, just overall budget history for the past 5 years. We'll also then look at our 4-year reserve and fund balance analysis. We'll take a look at our tax certiorari review and debt service, and then we'll finish up with just one slide on our projected bond in May of 2025. So the annual budget cycle starts, say, July 1st. There's a lot of planning that goes into it. We're always reviewing prior year expenditures and revenues, make sure we're on par of where we should be. In preparation for the budget development, there's a lot of stakeholder feedback that we get. We meet with a lot of various groups, PTAs, our Citizens Finance Committee, our newly established CWAC, different PTA councils, faculty and staff. We also meet with each of the buildings, different departments. So there's a lot of feedback that we get from various groups, and it's very helpful to get that information from them very early on in the process, in case there's anything kind of out of the ordinary that a building might be looking for in next year's budget. Once we have all that, then we kind of start doing our budget presentations. Tonight is, just like I said, our kind of high-level initial kickoff presentation. The subsequent meetings will be looking at our non-instructional budget first, then our instructional budget, and then a summary, and then again leading to a board adoption in April, and then a public hearing, and then the final budget and trustee vote in May 21st of 2024. I like to kind of put a slide in similar to this every year, just reminding folks that when building these budgets, the budget must be a balanced budget, so revenues must match expenditures. And then I just list out some of the largest revenues that we have. The majority of our revenue comes from property taxes, and then the other significant part comes from state aid and then sales tax. And then on the expenditure side, we have salaries and benefits that, again, make up the majority of that budget. Transportation and debt service are a large portion of the other remaining funds. So some of the driving factors for revenues for the upcoming school year. Consumer price index that's used in the tax levy cap calculation is trending above 2%. Currently, it's around 3.5%. Last year, for tax, it was at 8%. Again, in that calculation, we are capped at using 2%. So even though the consumer price index is trending much higher, for the calculation itself, we're capped at 2%. Currently, again, it's kind of early. We'll finalize these numbers in the next couple months, but we're looking at a maximum tax levy with exclusions is anticipated between 2.75% and 3.5%. So again, this is on the tax levy, the so-called 2% tax cap. It's usually never 2%. There's always these additional exclusions that are not taken into account in that calculation that usually boosts up some of those numbers. And those exclusions are typically for debt service for any payments that we're making, and then state aid that we receive on those payments. As far as state aid's concerned, we're looking at an increase in foundation aid, about 200 to 300,000, increase in building aid, about 125 to 225,000. A lot will depend on. So we're going to have a couple things. We're going to have our energy performance contract. We'll start receiving aid on that project, and then depending on when we finish up this athletic facilities project that we just talked about tonight, we may start generating some aid next year for that as well. Sales tax, just a small increase we're projecting right now, 20 to 30,000. And then appropriated fund balance, currently we're using about 438,000. We're projecting right now to use somewhere in the 800,000 to 1.1 million. And this number is used as a kind of a placeholder to kind of balance the budget on paper. We don't typically, or we have not had to dip into this in prior years. Again, we have to present a balanced budget, but rather than making cuts to programs and positions, we use this to kind of, again, balance that budget for the time being. Again, at the end of the year, typically, say for our expenditures, if we're 98% accurate, there's going to be some funds available, which has allowed us to not kind of actually use this appropriated fund balance. Some major factors on the expenditure side. We have the New York State Teachers Retirement System. Currently it's at 9.76%. And again, this is the employer contribution rate, the contribution rate that the district makes on behalf of the employees. In the New York State Retirement System, we have all certified staff, teachers, teaching assistants, administrators. And again, that rate currently is 9.76, and it's going to go anywhere to 9.75 or up to 10.25%. We'll get that finalized probably sometime in January. The New York State Employees Retirement System contribution rate you see is 13.1%, and that's going to increase to 15.2%. The last couple of years, the comptroller has put out that rate a little bit earlier than in years past, so that's helpful, because usually we do have a range in there for this presentation, but now they come out with that a little bit earlier. And that's for all our non-certified staff, so our teacher aides, monitors, custodians, office staff. And then one of our other large expenses is our health insurance. So we have two plans here. Our Empire plan, or our night shift plan, is for our teaching staff, and they run on a calendar year. So for the calendar year 2024, we were informed that aggregate increase is about 12%. They do split the percentage increases depending on if you're an active employee versus a retiree. So, but on average, it's about 12% for 2024. And then we also then need to project out for 2025. And we're projecting currently in that 12 to 14%. So again, just this time last year, we were projecting, we projected a 13% increase for 2024, which at the time we thought was relatively conservative. But as you can see, it came in at 12%, so we were kind of right there.
And there's really nothing, you can't shop that around, that's just required by state, right?
Right, and it's collectively bargained, it's in the unions, so yeah, there's not much we can do there. Yeah.
There's no ceiling that percentage can go up. It can go up whatever they choose.
Yeah, whatever they need to increase it by, yeah.
So you can 30%, 40%, just.
Yeah, so.
Not that it's going to, but it can go as high as they.
As high as they can. So last year, the rates for some of the retirees went up over 20% in 2023. So, yeah, the rates can rise drastically.
And that's based on experience.
Yeah.
The experience of the health plan.
Yep.
For that, whatever time period that year. Is that for just Somers experience, or is it like the whole?
No, that's for anyone
plan,
that
right?
belongs to the New York State Health Insurance Plan.
Right.
Yep.
And so if our rates are going up, like the percentage increase of what we have to spend goes up, it increases how much teachers and employees are paying for their insurance also, right?
Yeah, they're going to go up the same.
So if it became astronomical, like a 30% increase, at that point, the teachers may be like, can we shop around?
Maybe open to some other options.
They're also
yes.
spending more money.
Correct.
So,
yep.
okay. So it's affecting everybody.
It does affect everybody. And then the other plan that we have is the Putnam Northern Westchester Health Benefits Consortium Plan. That's for all employees that are not in the teachers union. And we have a projected increase of anywhere from 5 to 7%. I actually think I have a meeting tomorrow where we'll be voting to finalize that rate. So I'll have an updated number at the next board meeting. This slide is just a 5-year look back over the budget history. You can see the average of about a little over 3% budget to budget change. Tax rate increase was about 2.12%. This past year, we had a couple years ago, we had a little drop in the assessments, mostly due to a tax certiorari settlement. But then this past year, you see a significant increase in assessments, so that was helpful as far as the tax rate was concerned. So this slide gives you a kind of 4-year look back on our reserves and fund balance analysis. Just quickly looking at a couple of the past years, the total amount there at the end of 2022 was just over 20 million, and then you see it drops down to 13 million for 2023. That was kind of planned usage, where large chunk of that was from the capital reserve fund, where we got it up to that 7 million and then withdrew that after the voters approved it last May. And then we were able to put another $1.2 million into that fund. And then the other significant drop was in the tax certiorari reserve, and that was based on the tax certiorari settlement that I just spoke about. So nothing alarming here. The appropriated fund balance number on the bottom, going back to one of my first slides, talked about how we're at $438,000 this year. You see, going back a couple years, we were over 1.1 million. So that number does fluctuate from year to year, and a lot of that is dependent on some of the health insurance increases that we see, retirement increases that we see. It's nice when they go down. And we'd rather not have these large swings. So you kind of, with the employees' retirement system, you see larger swings for some reason compared to the teachers' retirement system. And we like this less swings to help with our stability and predictability in predicting some of these budgets.
Chris, the unassigned fund balance, that's the one that's capped at 4% by law, right?
Unassigned fund balance capped at 4%, yes, and we've historically been right around 4%, and there's always some lobbying done to try to get that number increased, because there's a lot of other municipalities that don't have
like 8, right?
Yeah.
Towns can keep 8% roughly?
It's quite a bit more than us, so. Just our tax certiorari review. See, for the few years, 1920, 2021, 21-22, there was nothing. And then this past couple of years now, we've had the one settlement that we paid out over a couple fiscal years. Currently, we have, in claims, we have about $19 million pending, and we have about almost $4.8 million in the tax cert reserve. Again, that's predominantly made up of one large tax certiorari that is still out there, and we're reserved for about 24.5%, which I think overall is a good number from where we've historically been and where some of these tax certiorari settle. Just because the plaintiff's claims are pending at $19.5 million, we would never expect to actually pay out that $19.5 million. Here's a look at debt service in the current year and then future years. One of the things that's important for tax cap calculation as well is to try to keep our debt service number consistent. So if you look at that top line, that 2006, 2009 building project, you see in the 27-28 school year, it drops. That's where we first start to see some of those bonds fall off. So it's going to be done over a couple years. So that is why we are now looking at the potential bond vote in May of 2025 to then start to work on a much larger project for the community and for the district, to then bring on some more debt when one falls off, put one back on. Again, it helps with the tax cap calculation, so you don't have these large swings from one way or another, where there's some districts that you'll see that might have like a negative tax cap number, and that makes budgeting very difficult. So. And then just the last slide here is just a projected bond vote in May of 2025. Again, trying to keep it cost neutral, where one bond is falling off and then bringing another one on. We always kind of look at it like a mortgage. One falls off, just bring another one on. There's a lot of work that's going to need to get done in the district. We're looking at approximate size of the project based on our current projections was about $65 million. At the meeting in January, we'll have our architects back, who were just here tonight, to go over our 5-year building condition survey, and that's where it outlines a lot of the kind of building envelope stuff that needs to happen. There's going to be a large amount of money in paving and concrete work. There'll be HVAC upgrades, windows, a lot of things that are kind of, some things are coming to their end of the useful life, but it's a large amount of money and stuff that you don't want to just leave, because then you'll be in a lot of trouble if you don't address some of these issues. I mean, we're perfectly fine right now. There's no health and safety issues that they've identified in the plan. It's just, kind of planning out for that. This is our time. This is our next big bond project, because the one that's falling off was back in, that 06 to 09 timeframe when we did some additions to some of the buildings. So now we just want to make sure we're keeping our buildings up to date and updating some of the buildings that maybe haven't been touched in quite a long time. And then any kind of remaining funds, we're looking at some of the, like I said, academic learning environment updates, and that's, again, updating some of the, spaces in our buildings that haven't been touched in years. Some of the STEM labs, and really kind of bringing us into more of the 21st century with some of the stuff. And then just some upcoming Board of Ed meeting dates and topics. The next presentation will be done in January. That is going to be our non-instructional budget. Also at that meeting, we'll have our annual operations update from some of our non-instructional staff, so our safety and security, transportation, buildings and grounds, food service, and technology will be there to present, as they have done in the couple years, for a couple years now. And then February meeting will be on instructional budget. And then March 26th will be a kind of a summary, kind of bring it all together, and then looking at another budget summary and budget adoption in April, and then a public budget hearing in May 7th, and then again, all leading to the budget vote and trustee election on May 21st. So that is it for the presentation. If anybody has any questions.
I know this was the big overview.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say to the board that we're trying to gather all the, like any kind of questions or kind of presentations of what you want to see numbers-wise for the non-instructional piece. If you want to look at last year's non-instructional budget presentation, it's in the board docs. If you look at last year's meeting, it's around the same time. And if you can funnel those questions to the planning committee, it would be helpful, because then we'll meet with Chris and get ready for that January meeting, so we can make sure we have like the information and that it's a productive meeting. So.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. All right, so the last piece of the central office part here is just from the learning office. Claire will come up for just a moment or two. Just wanted to follow up a little bit from our last conversation at the last board meeting, and certainly some of the things that where we've been out kind of in the field. We have different presentations at different schools. We had one actually not too long ago here in this space with our IB coordination of trying to draw a clarity between the International Baccalaureate Program framework and then the New York State standards and the information that's driving that behind. So thank you, Claire.
Thank you. Good evening, and thanks for this opportunity to increase our community's understanding of the International Baccalaureate Program and what it means for our students. We truly appreciate the community's interest and are dedicated to building a shared understanding of the student experience in Somers. Just a quick reminder that was discussed at the last board meeting, all students in Somers Central School District are striving towards a New York State Regents diploma. This has not changed with the implementation of IB, and there are no plans to change that. Some students choose to engage in an additional learning experiences in 11th and 12th grade that will provide them with the opportunity to earn an additional diploma by meeting specific requirements set forth by IB, as you'll see in the purple and blue columns on the right of the graphic on the board. And even these students, they still earn a New York State Regents diploma in their culminating year. On November 13th, New York State Education Department announced that it's seeking to create more flexibility on the criteria students must meet to earn a Regents diploma, but the Regents diploma is and will continue to be the culminating degree for students in Somers Central School District and other public schools throughout New York State. If we look at this, and we've talked about before, and certainly have presented in many of our trainings and parent nights throughout the district when we talk about IB or MYP, the middle years program is not a prescribed curriculum. It is an aligned way in which our teachers engage students in the New York State curriculum and standards, and through that explicitly teach the transferable skills that research shows students will need to be successful in school and beyond. IB, like our Board of Education policy, expects educators to present students with multiple perspectives on issues, and Somers Central School District and the International Baccalaureate are aligned in that they both believe that we should always be teaching students how to think and not what to think. There's a link on this particular presentation, but you can also go to the Somers Middle School MYP page for more information about the middle years program specifically, and to read more about what MYP is and what it is not. But to reiterate, it is not a canned curriculum. It is a way to teach and for students to learn in grades K through 10. If students choose to engage in the DP in grades 11 and 12, there's a little bit more oversight about what the major topics are, but IB always includes and expects teachers to present multiple perspectives and voice and choice to students to pursue subjects, topics within skill areas that they are interested in. For the next slide, we are, as I said, dedicated to ensuring that we all have the shared understanding of what IB means in Somers, what it means for our students. So we have and will continue to provide learning opportunities for our community, for our parents. We just, in the last 2 weeks, had an MYP parent night here at Somers Middle School, well attended. We will offer another one in the spring. Please stay tuned for those dates. Also, the resources are your students' teachers, building administrators, your MYP coordinators, and of course the learning office for any questions or concerns you have. And on this slide you'll see the upcoming learning opportunities where you can learn about the program in general and then specifically attend some showcases of students showcasing their work and engaging in the actual learning and what that looks like. So as we mentioned, we follow the New York State standards and framework put forth by New York State Education Department. And I think in our last board meeting, a 6th grade lesson was referenced, and so that's taught in Somers Middle School. The lesson is aligned with the New York State 6th grade framework for social studies, the focus of which is global history and geography, and specifically in the Eastern Hemisphere. Both SASD and New York State believe it's important for students to understand what it means to be a good citizen in all the communities to which they belong. So in this particular lesson, and throughout a student's time in Somers Central School District, they continuously engage in learning experiences in social studies and other classes that build this understanding. For example, in the unit reference, students engaged in learning that asked them to consider what it means to be a good citizen of their home, their school, their town, their state, their nation, and eventually the world. This is a global history class. The world was added to that question. As well, for the past 14 years, ensuring student success in a global society has been included in the mission of Somers Central School District. And on November 13th, NYSED introduced a profile of a New York State graduate, and global citizen is one of the profile traits that New York State is asking us to consider include in that learning. Also, throughout our elementary experience, students are continuously engaged in learning and thinking about what it means to be a good citizen, what kind of things do good citizens do, and they focus on voting, the study of the flag, the study of the Pledge of Allegiance, and continuously engaging in that idea of what it means to be a good, productive citizen. We appreciate our partnership with families and the community and encourage anyone who has a question about their own students' experience in the classroom to first reach out to their classroom teacher and/or the building administrators. It's a great opportunity to gain clarity and strengthen the homeschool partnership. And for anyone who has a question about the student experience in the district in general, please feel free to reach out to Liz Turner for grades K through 5, myself for grades 6 through 12. We'd be happy to address any questions or concerns that you have or direct you to the most appropriate person who can.
Claire, I just want to say thank you very much for already planning to do another parent night here in the spring, because there was certainly lots of good energy that came forth from the first one that generated some other questions around the board. And so thank you very much for already scheduling that in the spring. It's a good foresight so people have an opportunity to sit down and talk. And I like the last one in particular, all of them, but you got the experience of an IB student going through how do you learn more about this topic. The topic happened to be International Baccalaureate Program, but again, thank you to Learning Office for coordinating that work.
Yeah, I highly encourage anyone who's interested or is curious. The MYP coordinators do a great job of modeling the student experience for the adults, so you can actually feel what it's like to be a student in one of these classrooms where the teachers are teaching the same content that they have been for years, but they're approaching it from a little bit of a different angle, right? So you're aligned in every one of your classes. The teachers are speaking the same language, and there's no hidden skills. Rather, they're explicitly taught and connected, because you need these skills to be successful in this class, but you also need them later for college or work or what have you. So we're looking to build the skills that all students will need to have continuous success throughout their life.
And Claire, I'm sorry, I just was also thinking about that evening. I couldn't say it any better, but one of the parents that was there that night after Reflect said, okay, time out. So I understand that this is really just about great quality teaching.
Yeah.
And so I really appreciate the community coming out and being a part of those conversations. So thank you again for arranging it.
Sure, that's a common sentiment. I mean, I started it here in 2016. I went to IB training my first year and sat through an Approaches to Teaching and Learning session. I was unfamiliar with IB, but that was my sentiment as well. I'm like, oh, this is just strong teaching. This is the way, good instructional teaching.
Thank you, Claire.
Thank you.
And then just as Claire heads off, for the board, just let you know that we are starting, again, with the energy that the Learning Office talked about here, to try to help our community understand as much as they possibly can about the International Baccalaureate Program and the framework that's there. So I believe it's this week we'll have our first of a 4-part series that will kind of put some things in writing right in the Somers record that will speak directly to about the alignment that Claire spoke of tonight with the historical district's mission and vision, and how that aligns directly to the International Baccalaureate Program, driven and the energy coming from the New York State standards. So we'll get that out, and we have 3 more parts to follow after that. So hopefully that again will be one more opportunity to involve the community in that conversation. Once we get the date identified for, hey, come in person, we'll also put that out in the paper. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Anything from our committee liaisons? I know planning just went. Nothing new.
Communications, I guess we're meeting in early January, and I'll be sending out the list of PTA and SEPTA and other events to keep continuing trying to have at least one board member who can try to make any of them. So I'll send them out shortly. I think the new list is out for starting January.
On that note, Chris, for the PTA stuff, you mentioned PTA for the budget. Are you going to the PTA meetings for that, or what are you doing?
No, typically Dr. Blanche and I have met with some of the PTAs over the course of a few months.
Got it, okay.
And that's where in particular, when we have an opportunity to meet with a PTA leadership, we do kind of a check-in with them as well too. And so over the years, they've been very helpful and supportive of us understanding how we can support, for example, things like the learning, the teacher at the high school is that the kids talked about the coordinator in student life. And so that was a piece that really came there directly, as well as some of the other social emotional wellness support. So that's how we've been engaging. And the reality is right now we're seeing that we're giving it a little bit more consistent attendance with some of the Zoom sessions, just because that working in people's lives and some. So that's how we kind of connect with that group.
There's a lot at the PTA council meetings too. I know you always go to those once a month and give your update too, right?
Policy committee met. Not too much there. The policy that we have on here today really just reflects changes that were required that we had to make to a policy. And we've seen that one before. This is a second read. And then we're continuing to, we talked some more about social media policy, how some other districts do it. We had, and I think, the direction we're probably going to be going is looking at ways where do we need to address social media within policies that we already have. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We have some more things to review.
Good, great.
CUAC met, and I just wanted to reiterate that we kind of debriefed a little bit on how the wellness summit went, and we discussed how they brought in a person, and her name's going to escape me now because Phil was going to send me the slide and he didn't, but she spent all day here with the schools, and it was great because she gave training to teachers on executive functioning piece, and then in the evening she gave a presentation to parents as well, and it was just really great strategies and tips. I'm a huge firm believer in it. I've been following it now for several years, and it was just so great to even see it already incorporated. I saw on the school district's Facebook page that they had how they showed time management, because it's such an important skill for kids. One of those explicit skills to teach all children, which is great. So it sounds like it was a very successful day and that the teachers got a lot out of it. So I was happy to see that.
Great.
And I'm just going to say, and what we've continued to talk about, Amanda, too, is that idea about that clear connection with the ATL skills or approaches to teaching and learning inside the IB program that specifically talk to about kind of those skills that you would need, your thinking skills, your processing skills, your time management skills. So all that aligns directly to the elements of the ATL skills. So again, thank you for mentioning that. I forgot that we've been kind of making sure that people see that alignment.
Yeah, and it all weaves together, which has been so great, which as far as how the IB program is going to be brought down potentially to the lower school skills, you can kind of see how it would all tie in together, so.
All right, great. If that's it, we'll move on to the approval of the meeting minutes. Let it be resolved that the Board of Ed, having received copies of the minutes of meetings 11/14/23 and 11/28/23, hereby approves the same.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstained, objections? All right, on to board action, personnel consent agenda. Let it be resolved that the Board of Education, upon recommendation of the superintendent of schools, hereby approves the attached personnel agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstained, objections? All right, CSE, CPSE meeting recommendation. Let it be resolved, the Board of Education have received copies of the recommendations of the meetings as listed in attached memo, hereby approves the same.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstained, objection? Business consent agenda. Let it be resolved that the Board of Education, upon recommendation of the superintendent of schools, hereby approves the attached business agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Abstained, objections? All right. Stipulation of settlement. Let it be resolved, the superintendent of school hereby authorizes and empowers to execute the stipulation of settlement signed on December 1st, 23 by the parent of student XXX, and the superintendent is further authorized to take all actions necessary to effectuate the terms of the agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Abstained, objections? Nope. Policies. We have the second reading and adoption. It resolved that upon recommendation of Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education, Somer Central School District does hereby accept the following revised policy for second reading and adoption. 714, relations with non-public schools.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions?
No, not at this point.
All in favor?
Aye.
Stand objections? All right, we move on to public comment. No. All right, go on to board member comment.
No, it's actually good to see the kids aren't here anymore, but the leadership conference that we sent so many students to, and congratulations to all the student athletes that got recognized, and also it was nice to see the music students being recognized as well along with that. So, and I guess there's 2 concerts going on the next 2 days, and I think tomorrow is the high school and Thursday's at the middle school.
What time tomorrow?
I'm not sure. I know Thursday's at 7, so I'm going to try to make that one.
Wednesdays at 7. I'll be there.
7.
I'll be there too. And that was amazing, the recognition of our students, leadership, sports, music, scholarship, built within all of that. I'm just beaming up here going through that. And so thank you. Thank you, kids, for all of your hard work and dedication. It's impressive. Really proud. That's all I have.
Oh, okay.
Happy holidays, everyone, too. Yes, I should.
Yeah. Well, I think I echo you guys. The sports achievements are really impressive, and it's nice to have the agenda to put the sports recognition and sports facility in the same meeting. And I think we should recognize that the board certainly strongly supports sports, and the budget of the facility is a testimony for that. Personally, I believe now we all realize, money doesn't come that easily. The community is paying a lot of money for this. We really ought to use the money very prudently. When I voice discussion is not opposing the facility in any sense, but requiring we thinking ahead, doing the best we can for the dollars we have, because it will benefit not only the school, the whole community. The kids are part of the community, the parents are part of the community. Sometimes the sports require family activities. In fact, that's why off school hours, the usage of a sports facility sometimes are very important. So I just urge everybody think in that direction. And when the project starts, anything we can improve for enhancing the utility, for the public use as well as school use, should be considered. Yeah, that's my comment. Thank you.
Want to be next? Doesn't matter to me. Thank you for all the students who came tonight. It was so nice to see kind of a whole spectrum of students out here, right? Between the leadership and the athletics and the music. So that's always wonderful to see. And it's, that's why we're here, and that's why we're sitting here. It's for the students. So I also want to thank the administration for putting together the very informative presentation for the middle years program. I applaud you for providing accurate information to the public, and that it's clear that nothing goes against New York State standards that's being taught. So, what do you call it? And then, I guess just to go back to what you were saying, Ife, I don't think anyone's not planning ahead, but yeah, I think that this project has been very carefully scoped, bidded upon, and there's a couple different phases in what we knew we could do here, and then what we could do in the future, and that's what part of the Phase B piece is with the electrics. So, going forward, that's all I have to say, and happy holidays to everybody. Happy New Year, because this is it until 2024.
Yeah, we have a lot of things that we talk about at the board table. We have to talk about budget. We have to talk about curriculum. We have to talk about, different things that aren't always so exciting. So when we have a night like tonight, it's really exciting to hear from. It's important, but not always as exciting. So
We're in the same meetings.
Yeah. But it's exciting when we get to hear from the students and just recognize all the different ways in which our students excel, and reminds us of all those facets of our budget that are so important, and all the talented staff that we have in our schools that are helping to provide the students this opportunity. And just one of the things we say, we want to ignite passion for our students for learning, and that's some of the things we saw today with athletics. We saw it with music. We saw it with leadership. And that's another area that we don't always, I think, acknowledge and celebrate. But what great skills that gives the students to have these opportunities, that they're taking advantage of this chance to develop leadership skills, and all the places that can lead them in anything that they're doing. So that's great to hear. And in some of the more recent meetings, we've heard from them in academics too, and those academic successes. And so I think that's one of the things I want to just remind all of us is everybody that we have that's working so hard with their expertise. Our teachers and our faculty have so many years of training and expertise in the work that they do. And it's not just their undergraduate degrees and their graduate degrees where they were learning best practices and how to do the work they do, but the constant professional learning that's going on too. And so a reminder for everybody, for community members and for ourselves, that when we have questions or somebody comes to us with a question, there's an important reason why we recommend that hierarchy, which Claire had mentioned. Go to the teacher first. So, it's such an easy answer. If you have a question about an assignment that your child has, you don't understand something, you're worried about something, before you take it to other people, you take it to the community, you bring it out as an assumed problem at a community meeting, go to the source and trust, teach, treating our staff with respect, the same respect that we would want in our own jobs if somebody had a question for us. Just to always remember that, and go through that hierarchy process. And obviously, if you still have concerns after you talk to the source, then go to the next person and ask them and bring the concerns. But going with trust first and trying to really find the answers from the places and the people that can provide it, that can do it first, and just being careful about that. We talk a lot about the importance of building community trust and trying to mend some divisions. And I think the biggest way we can do that is try to make sure we're not spreading misinformation, we're not lobbing out accusations, but first getting accurate, true information, and really celebrating all the things that are going well. So, I'm done.
Yep. Got anything? Or?
Yeah, I guess like everybody else has recently said, congratulations to all athletes, musicians, and leadership team. Did a great job. Very proud of all of you. I guess everybody hope everybody had a happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everybody and their families, students, teachers, everybody.
Great, thank you. Okay, like I already spoke. When the coaches and students were here, I'll just sum that up in one word, but impressive. So that was great to see. I always like doing that. Fields, Aoife, I couldn't agree with you more, right? And I was glad to see, look, there is that plan ahead and future-proofing a lot of this stuff, the investment that we're looking to do, and unfortunately, we can't do everything at once. Especially with CPI growing at 8%, right? We lost a lot of that to inflationary measures as far as what our budget could do. But look, it's a cycle, right? So every couple of years we'll start investing in it and growing and making the necessary changes that we need. If you do find an extra $2 million laying around, it'd be great to do that. But you know.
You can get solar lights for nothing sometimes.
What's that?
Sometimes solar lights is free.
But anyway, look, it's a process, but it's good to see that we have a plan and we're spacing it out. But again, I'm unfortunate, you know, can't get everything at once, right? The budget, look, that was just a drip on it. I want to just, again, remind everybody, I know Amanda did as well, but we're trying to get ahead. Bring your questions early. If you have things you want to get represented in the budget or see broken down in a particular way, send that to the planning committee ahead of time. This way, the presentation should have, you know, ideally when we go into the meeting on the 28th, I believe it is. 23rd, close. It has what you want in that breakdown ahead of time, and we give them at least a month to go ahead and work on that. And then we'll do that for each one of the other ones too. So start thinking ahead, by the way. You probably want to actually probably get the first two and not just that one because it's 2 weeks after. So we're not giving them 2 weeks on the second one. So you should start just thinking ahead on that there.
Okay.
All right. And then it's probably a rolling 4 weeks or something like that on that. That's it. Look, happy holidays to everybody, and wish everybody a happy, healthy, safe New Year.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, board, and just whatever you said this evening. Again, I'll just start by starting with our classroom teachers and thanking them for everything that they do every day. This is a very exciting time of the year. The children are very excited when they come home. So you can only imagine how excited that the kids are in class and the energy there. So thank you for all of our teachers and our support staff and faculty, really having some wonderful opportunities. I was able to hear a little bit about over at SAS today where one of our grade level classes came together and they made this determination that we're going to go ahead and try to raise some dollars to go ahead and give to a kind of a cause. And so in that project, the grade level, they went ahead and made some kind of crafts on themselves. And what they ended up doing was raising money by, you know, the other kids in the grade level could come back and go ahead and raise, you know, some funds by donating back. So they got all different kinds of things. But in the end, they raised, my understanding, a little bit over $1,000 to go ahead and provide to this good cause. So again, what we talked about this evening about making an impact in your local community and seeing something you can make an impact on and make a change. Saw it, you know, right today over with to be our third grade class over at SAS. So again, thanks to all the families and board staff for participating in that. That one took everybody. And then just to go ahead and close out. So again, everybody, so happy holidays to everybody. Hopefully you get to spend some time with family and friends. And if you end up taking travel somewhere else, and hopefully we get some snow coming our way, we'll see you and be safe out there. So thank you very much, Nick. Appreciate it.
Great. All right, thank you, everybody. Let it be resolved that this regular meeting of the Board of Education be adjourned.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Abstained, objections.